That time I got locked in a room with an unsettling man. I just came across this sub and figured the story was perfect to share here. I promise, y'all, this is 100% real and still gives me nightmares 4 years later. When I was 18, I worked at my college's residence building at the front desk, and I think I almost got assaulted or murdered. You be the judge. During the summer, the building operated as a hotel. So 2.5 floors were hotel rooms, and half of the third floor were student rooms. The whole building operated with a hotel swipe key system that was pretty outdated, and all of the doors were powered by 4 AA batteries. If the batteries died, there was a decently lengthy process to replace them and reprogram the door. A dark-haired guy came to the front desk from inside the building while I was working an overnight shift at around 1 or 2 a.m. and said he left his keycard in his room. I made him a new one and made my first error of the night. Hotel guests could have as many keys remade as they wanted, hypothetically. Students, however, were supposed to be given a temporary keycard and charged $2 to be returned when theirs is located. I gave him a new key for his room and asked if he was a student or hotel guest, and he replied, quote, student. At this point, I should have checked our system to charge his account, but I was caught up doing administrative duties and forgot. I used to trust people way too easily at this job, but quickly learned not to. Later on in the night, maybe around 3 or 4 a.m., he came to the desk again and said he couldn't get into his room. I asked if he just forgot his key again, and he said no, the door wasn't working. I asked if the light was coming on when he swiped his card, and he said no, so I figured the batteries were dead. I told him I'd have to change the batteries and went up to his room with him. He asked me for my name, and I told him. He didn't tell me his. I opened the door manually with a master key and told him I'd have to prop it open while I worked on the back panel to replace the batteries. He said, quote, no, it's okay, I'll close it, and closed and deadbolted the door locked. Really fucking weird, but I tried not to think about it. I had changed the batteries on plenty of other doors by this point, and some students were iffy about having their doors propped open for their room to be on display for anyone walking by. He also had a really thick accent, and I thought he might be an international student since we had a lot of those students from other countries where English was not their first language. I gave him the benefit of the doubt and thought maybe it was also just a language barrier issue. At this point, though, I really felt like something was wrong, but I tried to ignore it so I didn't freak him out. While I was trying to focus on fixing the door as quickly as possible, he kept trying to entice me to go further into the room, and he needed me to take a look at it. There was something underneath it that needed to be fixed, etc. He held out a little gold house key and said, I have a key, go get it, and threw it under the bed. He said there was a leak under the fridge. He just kept trying to get me down on the ground, throwing random problems at me. Obviously, I told him no. I'd send maintenance up in the morning to take a look at anything that was broken. I had my back to him, and he asked me if I would take off my glasses. I said, no, I need them to see. His tone of voice changed, and in the most steady, chilling manner, he said, Ella, it's okay. You can take them off. And from behind me, he reached around and tried to take off my glasses. I swatted his hand away and, trying to remain composed, said, no thanks, I need to keep them on. Even though he was creeping me the fuck out, I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to get in trouble if he complained about me or risk upsetting him and having him yell at me. I got up to grab something from the door repair kit and undid the door deadbolt and opened it up in the process. He jumped towards the door to close it again and told me to keep it closed. I told him no, I had to open it to start reprogramming it from the front. While I held the door open with my foot and grabbed something from the door repair kit, he started playing with the little wispy hairs at the top of my forehead and trying to touch my shoulder. I swatted him away again and asked him not to touch me and focused on getting the fuck out of there. He once again tried getting me to follow him into the bedroom, saying the bed was broken, and I went as far as the doorframe to see if I could spot any actual problem with his bed. This is when I realized that he had nothing in his room. No dishes in the kitchen, no shower curtain in the bathroom, no sheets on the bed, nothing. This wasn't his room.
Oh my God. I didn't think about that till just now.
My brain once again went back to the international student theory, thinking he had just arrived today and hadn't gotten a chance to buy anything yet. But in the pit of my stomach, I knew something was wrong. I fiddled around with the door for a few more seconds before announcing that it was fixed, and quickly gathered the door kit and left. Before I had reached the elevator, he came back out without his shoes on to follow me. He tried to get back in to get his shoes and called out, "Ella, the door isn't fixed. You need to come back." I went back and opened the door manually and told him if the door was broken, I'd have to send up maintenance to fix it in the morning. I knew he was going to follow me to the elevator again, so I closed the door behind me once he went inside and ran down the stairwell as fast as I could. When I got to the front desk, I checked the computer and saw that the room he was in was supposed to be empty. It wasn't a student room or a hotel room. I locked myself in our back office and called campus security. He came down a few minutes later and went behind the desk. I yelled at him to get on the other side and wait, now that I knew he wasn't a resident. He tore the corner off a slip of paper I had sitting on the desk and drew a flower on it, then put it back on top of my papers. When security arrived, he ran back up to the empty room and tried convincing them he lived there so he wouldn't have to leave. He kept showing them his key card, which had decided to work on the door again somehow. They escorted him back downstairs and came to ask me if he really did live there. Obviously, he fucking didn't. That's why I called you guys crying and terrified. He kept interjecting to argue he did live there, but couldn't even recall his room number when asked. Security asked him for his student card, and he couldn't produce it. So they told him he would have to leave if he couldn't prove he lived there. While they were grabbing his information, I listened from the office and could immediately tell he was lying. The phone number he gave was just a bunch of random numbers. The name he gave was prefaced by, as if he was trying to think of a name. When they asked him for his address, he just said, across the street. One security guard asked if he lived in the apartments across the street, and he said yes, but couldn't tell them what the building number was. He said his apartment number was 1200, but I moved into that building a few months later, and apartment 1200 doesn't exist. When security asked what his purpose was to be sneaking into a room, he just kept up the ums and uhs and saying he didn't know. They'd ask, were you trying to see a friend? Do you know anybody who lives here? Were you here to hurt somebody? And he kept fidgeting and saying, I don't know, no reason. I was just here. At one point, he tried to tell them he was my friend, at which point I poked my head out of the office to say that I literally had never seen him before that night. He left. We didn't call the police because he didn't actually do anything, but it was still fucking unsettling. Later on, it dawned on me how he figured out the room was vacant. One of the housekeepers had been using it as her personal break room. A few days later, a housekeeper came to the desk and told me they found the door deadbolted open, the TV on, and a housekeeper inside watching TV. She must have forgotten to close the door when she left for the night, and when the creep let himself into the building, he found it. I never saw him again, and to this day, I have no clue what he was doing there. I haven't worked there since last winter, and overnight shifts still give me the heebie-jeebies.
Okay, why is this? I just feel like I wouldn't be able to do overnight shifts after that.
I would quit.
Yeah.
I would
She's
literally
resilient.
quit.
She's like Bravo. I think her name is Ella. Ella's very brave.
I would have left the minute he shut the door and deadbolted it. When
When
I went to fix the back panel, I would not have stayed in there any longer.
Yeah, the fact that she still did her job. She ran back downstairs and yelled at him to get away from the desk. I probably would have run home.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
I don't even know.
I would immediately have called the cops, not campus security.
Same. I would have called 911.
Fuck campus security.
Campus security most of the time
also,
doesn't do much.
He did do something. He was trespassing.
He was trespassing. And he
that
was
is still-
impersonating a resident.
There's shit that they could have done.
Yeah.
Just the trespassing alone would have been a chargeable offense.
Yeah.
He was breaking and entering.
Yeah.
Fuck no. But why deadbolt the door? He was trying to get her in there.
Yeah.
And all the creepy shit, my bed's broken. Look under the bed.
That part,
here's a key. Go get it.
So degrading. Threw a key, a squeaky toy under the bed to get her on her hands and knees. What would he have done? If she had been for some reason,
I feel like he would have knocked her over the back of the head with something. I feel like that's get her on her hands and knees where she's the most vulnerable and hit her over the head, kick her in the stomach. That's where you get someone to take them down and out.
Oh my God. And taking her glasses off so that she's can't see as well.
Yeah. No, me without contacts, I would not be able to see the cup in front of my face.
Yeah, that whole thing. He was up to something, whether he was trying to sexually assault, abduct, harm, inflict pain. He was like, you don't do that. There's people who are socially awkward and don't understand how to get people like in a room with them to talk, but that's crossing way too many lines.
Yeah, no, go sit at Starbucks if you want to make friends.
Yeah.
Like my dad goes there all the time and has made some of his best friends just sitting at Starbucks.
Yeah, you can just go like loiter somewhere publicly and like not impersonate a resident and not
Like,
trespass and not like assault people, you know?
Well, and the thing with this one too, like, okay, that housekeeper just happened to leave the door unlocked that one day.
Yeah, that seems like a very perfect storm situation.
He was casing
right?
the place.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did he like the one day and he found it? I was thinking that too. It just seems too convenient.
It's too big of a coincidence.
I agree.
How do you just wander into that hotel, that floor, by that room, that day that she left the door unlocked?
Yeah. Also, in the opening statement, I don't know what year this was. I don't know if she gives any context as to like when this happened, but for some reason it didn't sit right with me that there would be a building that is part student housing and part hotel resident living. I think that's a really weird mix.
Yeah, I feel like some college campuses do it though, to like when the dorms are empty during the summer to at least like make some of their money back.
I don't know. Really? Do you know of any schools that do that?
I don't know. My college had interesting rules for like renting rooms for the summer, but I don't know if you could as like a true non-student.
Exactly. Like I went to LMU, Loyola Marymount, and I can't even get on that. Like you have to know somebody to get on that campus. Like I'm an alumni and I can't even get on that campus. Like it's gated and
which is how it should be.
Which is how it should be. It's a private school and it's small, but like I remember if I forgot my student ID card, like I was shit out of luck. I wasn't getting on campus that day.
Yeah, no, I think that's honestly with school shootings and everything in this country, like America, if you live in other countries and don't have to deal with school shootings, and even if it's a public school and has a beautiful mall, you should have to give identification and like sign in.
Oh my gosh.
Sign back out.
So at my graduation, you didn't come, did you?
No, you didn't have enough tickets for your ceremony. We partied after.
You came to I know we partied after. But the graduation ceremony is outside because it's like sunny and beautiful and we have a big grass hill, whatever. And I was so on edge. This was 2017 and I don't remember what had happened that year, but I was so on edge. My whole graduation, I kept looking around me and this is a perfect like school shooting moment because it's
there was
outside.
Like a hill and bleachers or something.
There was a hill, like it was so hectic that day that they weren't like checking people, like anyone could walk on. And like the school I went to has like quite a bit of like high profile kids, like celebrity children, because we are local here in LA. And I just remember thinking, I think that year, the year before, like Bill Clinton spoke. So it was like, there's just always a lot of high profile people. And I'm like, this is such a perfect situation. And it just like my family members were at the Vegas shooting.
I know.
I forget what year that was.
Yeah.
It might have been that year, and that's why I was a little triggered. But I don't know. I was like on edge. I remember thinking about like a school shooting at my graduation, and that's like so sad. I was looking around being like, this is unregulated. Like anybody could be here.
Yeah. It's just
I don't know. But anyway.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Thank God this poor girl does not work there anymore. And
yeah. Whew.
Fuck that.
That's scary.
I know. Top comment. She was like, I don't know if I was like, I almost got murdered or what. And someone was like, both. He was likely going to do both. He probably would not have wanted to leave a witness. It's scary and fucked up that the dorms didn't have anything in place to keep you safe. And I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going forward, the manager took me off overnights.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's They shouldn't have overnight at all without some type of security guard.
Especially not one female alone.
Right. And she should not be like allowed to just like leave her post to go like, so she should have been escorted by like, especially at night like that.
At least one other staff member there.
Yeah.
Like don't you think there'd be housekeeping if it was an actual hotel?
Yeah.
Baffling.
Yeah.